Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So for today's video, we're actually gonna shift gears a little bit. We're just gonna focus on a couple of fragrances. Now you can see the thumbnail. The focus is definitely going to be on Louis Vuitton's anticipated release, Lovers, the fragrance that was creatively directed by Pharrell. Now I've also got a couple extras I'm gonna review with it. Basically, these are my latest 3 pickups. So we're gonna do Lorenzo Pizzaghlia, Sun-gria, and we're also gonna do Orto Parisi, Megamare. I'm gonna keep it a little bit briefer with those two and focus mainly on LV for Lovers. Let's just call that the main event of the video. So pretty straightforward intro because that's all we're gonna do today. So before we get started, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's get it started. So first off, we're gonna focus on the latest release from the house of Lorenzo Pizzaghlia, if I'm not mistaken, and one of my latest pickups. It's gonna be this one right here, Sun-gria. Lorenzo Pizzaghlia Sun-gria. I do like that label on the bottle. All the bottles pretty much look like this, so it's not really any different from the majority of them, other than maybe a color scheme, but I'm not even sure about that. But I do like that festive, fun, vibrant color label that it has. Obviously, if you haven't figured it out already, this is going to be a fragrance that plays on the Sun-gria, which is a drink of wine infused with fruits and citrus. So first off about this one, how does it smell? And the reason I'm gonna just kind of be brief on this is I haven't really worn this enough to have the full picture. I've worn it a couple of times, but not in a way to where I can really just focus on it. But I can tell you right now, it is a fun summertime fragrance. That's what I would call this. It does have the red wine element, which was kind of the first thing I was looking for. Matter of fact, I'm gonna spray it on a strip. Just give me a second here. We're gonna just spray this on a strip. There we go. Yeah, so right off the bat, you get vibrant citrus. There's notes of blood orange, mandarin. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put the notes on the screen because they have a lot of them listed here. So I'm just gonna focus on a few based off what's given. You definitely get the orange like citrus, blood orange, mandarin. There's bergamot. There's a little bit of a spice element, cinnamon and clove. I don't think I get that too much. Someone did comment on another post I did about this scent on Instagram that they get a lot of clove on their skin. I'm not quite getting that yet, but maybe I'll get that later on. Kind of looking at the notes here, yeah, you definitely have the red wine. There's a lot of fruits listed in the mid: apple, grape, peach, raspberry. I would say I kind of get a blend of all of that. Honestly, I think all of that is playing into the red wine element of the fragrance to give the representation of a Sun-gria. Someone made a comment that there are some other fragrances out there that maybe give a more realistic view of a Sun-gria, and I can understand that. I think this is meant to be kind of a playful rendition on the Sun-gria, and it's meant to be worn in the sun also. It is fruity, it is sweet, but it's not overly dense to where it can maybe become cloying or just too heavy. Like if you're out in the sun, I do think this is a scent that was designed to be worn in high heat, and you wear it for fun situations. There's nothing serious about this fragrance. I wouldn't wear this to a formal or a serious outing if it is hot outside. Like I said, it was sweet. It has a lot of ambery notes and sugary notes. I think, what is there? Yeah, there's like a cane sugar accord, but it's ambery, it's vanillic. There's a little bit of a clean woody feel to it to just kind of add a little bit of beef to it. That's overall the vibe I get from this scent. It's fun summertime fragrance. So it is a little bit particular in that, but it's a good summer scent, and it does remind me of a Sun-gria, so it gets thumbs up for me on that. Once again, this is Lorenzo Pizzaghlia's Sun-gria. All right, next one's coming from the house of Orto Parisi. This is Megamare. Orto Parisi's Megamare. Now again, this is just a new pickup for me, but this fragrance is not new. It's been in the community for, well, it's been on the market for a while. It's well known in the community primarily as a ridiculously powerful beast mode fragrance, and I can attest to that. Last time I wore this, I gave it 2 sprays, and even that for a while was a little bit overwhelming because I sprayed it like right behind the ears, and I'm like, this might need to be, if I'm gonna spray it on my neck, behind the back at best, because it was overwhelming for a little while there. It did calm down a little bit, but it definitely was on my skin all day long, no problem. I was able to pick it up much later into the day. So what does it smell like? It is kind of a, let's just call it artificial, slightly fruity, aquatic fragrance. It has as we can best guess. Now, the notes for these are not given officially, but if you look on Fragrantica, it does have cologne listed as a note, which is kind of a watery, slightly green watermelon type smell. It's used often in a lot of aquatic fragrances. I think there is a lot of it in this because it does have that kind of watermelon, almost candied like watermelon smell. Not very realistic. Many do call this fragrance, they say it's just very artificial smelling. Honestly, I don't really care about that. I mean, I can kind of expect that because for the price points that these fragrances go for and how powerful they are in particular, you kind of expect that. A lot of times your strongest fragrances are going to be using aroma chemicals versus raw ingredients, and if they're not ridiculously expensive, not to say that aroma chemicals can't be expensive, but if they're relatively affordable for them being a very powerful fragrance, you can pretty much expect that it probably might have a little bit more of an artificial smell. That being said, I don't think it smells bad. I can understand how that can turn some people off, but I don't think the fragrance necessarily smells bad. It's also noted as one that can get you compliments, but maybe more so it's just a powerful scent. I also definitely get other aquatic notes. There's a little bit of an ozonic feel to this. There might be some musk in there. It does get very musky on the dry down, so there's a good chance there's a good amount of musk in this. I think there's definitely an ambergris type accord in this, and obviously it's not going to be the most expensive one. At least I don't think it is, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, it's going to be basically an aquatic fragrance. It is extremely linear. To me, this does not change very much once it gets into the dry down, but it does stay powerful. So if you're someone who really just likes strong, beefy fragrances in terms of their projection and their longevity, this is one that might be worth checking out. I do think there are better smelling fragrances from this house. Now, I only own 2 right now. I also own Bergamasque, which I've talked about a lot. For me, Bergamasque, scent-wise, is way superior to this. But this does last a little bit longer than Bergamasque. Now, Bergamasque for me is not a slouch in terms of performance either. Some have said that fragrance only gets them 6 to 8 hours. That's kind of shocking to me because that one lasts all day on my skin as well. But this one just kind of edges it out in terms of overall performance. Once again, from the house of Orto Parisi, this is Megamare. All right, guys, let's move on to the main event. And that's going to be Louis Vuitton's LV Lovers. Their latest release just came out last week. I'm even going to show you the whole presentation. I don't normally do that. Now, the bottle comes in pretty much the typical Louis Vuitton packaging if you've seen it, but there is a slight change in the color scheme. They got the gold, the top is gold. I don't know if any of their other scents do that, but just based off what I got so far, slides open, fragrance bottle sits in there pretty securely. Just pop it out, and that is the presentation of LV for Lovers, or most Louis Vuitton fragrances, if I'm being honest. But here's the bottle. You can if you're familiar with the Louis Vuitton bottles, you can definitely see this is a little bit more vibrant, if you will, in terms of the color scheme. I guess the bottle overall, you could say, kind of has this goldish hue to it, but it's got like that pearlescent, I think that's what that's called. That effect is called pearlescent, almost oily look for the bottle, as if oil was smeared into the glass, and it's giving those colors. And yep, that is the bottle scheme. So what is the scent? Here, I'm gonna also go ahead and spray this one on a strip. I didn't spray Megamare because it's too powerful. Didn't want the room to smell like that. All right, so first off, this fragrance is woody. You could say that when you first spray it, or even first smell it, it has a kind of Santal 33, Le Labo Santal 33 smell. I did kind of pick up on that. Some have also said it smells like Richarnel. I'll kind of touch on that later. But for me, on the strip, it maybe is a little bit more prevalent, but you spray it on skin, you don't really get that Santal 33 vibe as much. It's maybe like 10% up to 20% in terms of maybe, if I had to put a range on what people would say overall, I would say 10% to 20%. For me, it's about 10%. It does have cedarwood and sandalwood. It's a woody fragrance. It is using those 2 woody combinations to act as the base and the inspiration for the scent, as far as I'm concerned. Now, you also got some bergamot. It's quite vibrant when you first spray it. Now, my bottle has already kind of tamed this a little bit, I guess, since I've sprayed it a few times. When you first smell this scent, it might be a little screechy. When I first smelled it in the store, it was very screechy. I was like, wow, that's definitely kind of trying to grab your attention. But it wasn't necessarily a citrus type of screechy. It was more of a spicy type of screechy. Now, there's ginger in this. Ginger can be used to give vibrance to a scent in a different way than what citrus does. The bergamot in this, I think, is a little bit tamed. It's there just to kind of add icing on the cake, but the majority of the brightness from this fragrance is coming from ginger and also galbanum, which galbanum in fragrances that, let's just say, have a mass appeal, which I think this fragrance does, galbanum is not typically an ingredient that I find to be used that often, at least not as much as this is. Now, the galbanum in this, it does fade away relatively quick, so it's definitely being used in a way that's not meant to be the bulk makeup of the scent. The smell of galbanum, you could say, is kind of spicy, plant-like green smell. It's a resin, and it has this kind of spicy plant-like smell, almost like an ivy type smell. But honestly, all of that kind of calms down. It does have this kind of green smell to it at first, and it has a little bit of a vibrance to it. The ginger in here, if you're familiar with Imagination, I think it's the exact same ginger, which makes sense. It's coming from the same house. They're probably using the same ingredients. The ginger comes across almost identical to how I experienced it in Imagination from Louis Vuitton, but it doesn't smell like Imagination. Please don't take it for me saying it smells like Imagination. It does not. And after you get past those few elements, it's really all about the cedarwood and the sandalwood. I get a little bit of a muskiness in this as well on the dry down. I can't really smell on the strip because the strip is accentuating other things. But once this really dries down on my skin, I think there's just a touch of musk in there to just add a little bit less of a dryness to the fragrance, but it's overwhelmingly cedarwood and sandalwood, very creamy form of sandalwood mixing with the dryness of the cedarwood, and I think just a little bit of musk, maybe even a little bit of a slight amber accord to just add just a dash of sweetness in there. That's how I experienced the fragrance. Now, let me just share why I picked this up. When I first sprayed it on skin, I was not sold on it. I did like it, and I was like, I would buy this, but I don't know if I want to buy it right now. And after about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all I know is I had it on my hand. I just kept doing this. I just kept smelling it. And it wasn't to check on it. It was because it kept pulling me back in. And I was just like, look, I don't know what it is about this fragrance, but I am not getting tired of it. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I think I should go ahead and pick this up. And I did that day. So this was a fragrance I bought on the spot. I've worn it a few times, and even now as I just sprayed it, I'm smelling it off the strip here. I still have that feeling of it's not a super special fragrance, but I can't get enough of it. It's intoxicating to me. It keeps drawing me in. I'm talking about me personally. I don't think this is a scent that everybody would necessarily have that reaction for. And also, I don't think this fragrance would necessarily appeal to everyone. One thing you can say about this scent is you could say it's unique in that it has taken inspiration from many different other styles of fragrances and created a new thing from them. I do think that the Santal 33 comparison is valid, but the fragrance is not Santal 33 at all. It does not smell like it. It is not an offshoot of it. There are many other fragrances that are much closer to Santal 33 and still do their own thing way before this does. All right, now the Gris Charnel comparison. I actually hadn't thought of this, but somebody else mentioned it in a post, or I saw it somewhere, that someone said this reminds them of Gris Charnel. On the dry down, I think that is a valid comparison. Now, it doesn't smell exactly like it. It just can put you in the mindset of it. Why? Gris Charnel has creamy sandalwood. This has a creamy element to it, similar to what you might get from a Gris Charnel. The main difference is it's not going to be as sweet. Gris Charnel also uses a lot of vanilla. I don't really pick up too much of a vanillic style sweetness in this. It's almost just this slight ambery, musky style of sweetness to this fragrance, but none of those notes are listed, and I obviously don't know everything they used in this fragrance. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what you're gonna get from LV for Lovers. Now, I can't really speak too much on projection and longevity yet. It's kind of hard for me to tell. I've worn it in a couple scenarios where I wouldn't judge it because maybe it was a little too active, and also I'm not quite sure how many sprays to use on this just yet. I went somewhere and had done 4 sprays. Seems like that actually might not have been enough because someone said, I didn't notice you wearing something today, and then I just held out my arm because it's a place where they know I wear fragrances, and I held out my arm. She smelled it. She did like it. Now she was like, yeah, there it is. And she did like the scent, but she said she couldn't really smell it on me. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not leaving much of a sillage. Yeah, I just don't know yet how many sprays I would use for this, so I can't really speak on that. That being said, it's definitely not a room filler scent. I can say that much. It does have some projection though. It does have some sillage. I just can't put a gauge on it yet. I gotta get a little more experience with it. Overall though, I think this is a versatile fragrance. You can absolutely use it for just about anything. And what's good about it is it does play on the usefulness of a Louis Vuitton imagination, where that fragrance does not smell like your typical blue scent, but you can use it as one. I think this one maybe not quite as far as a blue fragrance, but it is a versatile scent that doesn't necessarily smell like everything else. I think you can use this for just about anything as well. And yes, I do think you can use it in just about any temperature situation too. All right, guys, I think I've pretty much said about all I can say on this fragrance. Once again, this is Louis Vuitton's latest release, LV Lovers. All right, guys, that is gonna do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below. I'm pretty sure many of you guys have gotten your nose on the latest Louis Vuitton release in particular. So let me know what you think about it. Have you picked it up? Just, share your thoughts on it. This video is mainly about that fragrance. If I know some of you are familiar with Megamare, you can share your thoughts on that as well. And if you've checked out the latest from Lorenzo Pizaglia, Sun-gria, feel free to share your thoughts on that one as well. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. Really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.